subscriber, organically to 20,000 over the past year without ads. That's a phenomenal job. So yeah, there are people out there who are doing good job. There's also the marketing head of a famous Indian company who puts out good content. I'm sorry, I'm not able to get his name. If I find it, I'll tell you. Yeah. And the backlink.io founder, Brian Dean, he puts out great content on a weekly or a daily basis. So yeah, LinkedIn is good. You are trying to, find. You have to search for the people, but once you follow the right people, you can come across good content. No doubt about it. No, we will be following it up. I feel, yeah. Abhinav is joining, so let's just wait for some time. In the meanwhile, I can take a few more questions. Copywriting is very important. On 1 to 10, I would say 10. Yeah, you need to have an idea of how to get your message across, and even though you're not probably going to be writing copy all the time, you need to have an eye for it. And the only way you can build an eye or an intuition is if you train yourself. Is discounts the only way to attract customers or retain them? Not necessarily. I think building a good product is like the best way to attract a customer or retain somebody, but discounts do help. Yeah. So think of it as NOS, nitrous oxide for your, you need to be a good racer, but NOS or, discounts is just going to give you that extra edge. But just having discounts all the time, it's not going to help you, right? You have to grow your business sustainably. And if you want to improve your conversion rates, you could have a flat 100% off it. Yeah, but yeah, I think we have Abhinav here, but he's on mute. So, okay, guys, over to Abhinav now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, guys. What's happening? You can respond to me in the chat box if you forgot. Any tips for landing clients via Twitter? I tried looking for blah, 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 but no results. Look for other stuff, dude. Okay, cool. I've been fine. I mean, I haven't been very fine. I've been under a health scare because I live in this place called in the city called Bangalore, if you didn't know already. And I was, checking my chat history, how I was making fun of this situation on 5th of June. That Bangalore had about 278 total coronavirus cases, 278 total COVID cases. And out of that, only 150 cases were active. And, at the same time, my family, who lives in Delhi, these guys had about 15,000 cases. And I was like, how Bangalore, actually evaded the whole wave. And there was a flood of newspaper articles coming around at the same time that, people were trying to analyze how Bangalore actually tackled the situation or, just got away lightly. Again, but journalists, make stories out of any situation. It's not always the most scientific narrative. So what's been happening at Bangalore over the last few days is we're recording over 700 to 900 cases per day, and Bangalore right now is at 7,000 cases. And this spike kind of coincided with my illness. I had symptoms of, I had fever and I had somewhat dry cough, non-persistent. I have recovered. I think the preliminary medication worked, but that phase while I was in this, the last 10 days, the last 12 days, the last 14 days, was full of anxiety of how this thing will further progress, and anxiety of not handing this over to people I work with or people I stay with, because Avalon, the entire team lives in the same apartment complex, and we eat, breathe, live, work together, and breathing together kind of makes things dicey. So, but yeah, I'm back. I think I can speak better, and back in action. Let's make the most of today. Okay, so what happened in the last live stream? Varun and Nelson gave you a preview of what copywriting is, and what is life cycle copywriting, and I think you guys got a good case study of that from a brand that we've worked with. The brand's called Capiva, and I think you guys kind of brushed through Capiva in the early days of this mentorship, when you guys were working on a competitor brand of Capiva, that is Akiva. So Capiva has been a client of ours. It's a VC funded company. They've raised about $2.5 million last year from a venture fund called Fireside Ventures. Fireside Ventures is a VC fund that we closely work with. We work with a lot of their portfolio companies. So yeah, and what you saw was a classic example of life cycle. Nirwan Daga finds the live stream to be lagging. Is it working fine for the rest of you guys? You can say yes or no. Okay, thank you, Akash. Perfect, Nirwan. Okay, so what does life cycle basically mean? Life cycle is the kind of, life cycle means the entire relationship that the customer has with your brand and all the ups and downs. Ups and downs would mean, someone is browsing through your store, then suddenly stops browsing. Someone who's purchased, all kind of basic, levels of a relationship. It's never a linear relationship that you and your customer have with each other. It's always, it can go any direction. So we call it life cycle. We don't call it a funnel. However, funnel is a word that we use for for uniformity amongst the industry, so that I can make conversation with other people. Funnel has the word funnel has become sort of the industry norm, although the concept of a funnel is flawed at its fundamental. So what I want you to do is, without much further ado, I want to give you a few episodes where the mindset of what we're going to talk about can you can kind of get an insight into the mindset that I have when I approach problems of marketing, when I approach a new brand. How do I structure its campaigns? So those two episodes are, before I open this, let me open my smooth draw so that you guys can have screen to view. Resize 2024 will be the width. Just a minute. I'm just going to share my screen. Don't worry, guys. Okay. Share your entire screen. Yes, share my entire screen. Share. Perfect. Cool. Can you guys see this whiteboard of sorts? How would I know? By minimizing. Okay, perfect. Shubham Chaudhary. Awesome. Okay, perfect. So see, a lot of these gurus talk about the concept of sales funnel, and they make it seem like the holy grail of internet marketing, and then a lot of scammy softwares that talk in scammy language are associated with this concept of sales funnels. One of those softwares is ClickFunnels and whatnot. There's a whole tribe of these guys who who kind of swear by the concept of funnel. Most of these guys are not practitioners. They're just building up on each other's courses and selling more courses, and probably ClickFunnels helps them do that. But yeah, this does seem like the holy grail of internet marketing, but it's the exact concept is flawed at its fundamental. And to understand that further, I want you to go to Meta and go to Facebook ads fundamentals, and then Facebook ads basics is my course there, and then watch this video on non-linear user journey. Non-linear user journey. the basic thing I talk about here is that, everyone preaches the fact that, the user journey is a 3-step process. You make the customer aware, then you make them consider your product, and then you make them purchase. It's as simple as that. But this is not true, because we have evidence to believe that this is not true. This is not how, you call it cold, warm, hot. Although, even I speak this terminology. Varun Suresh spoke this terminology in the last live stream, but this is not accurate. This is something that we speak for convenience, to be able to converse with the other people. This has kind of become the industry norm, talking about audience stages like this, but it's not accurate. And why is this not accurate? You will know when you go through this episode of called, why is the red not working, bro? Okay, chalo फिर से try करते हैं. हाँ, red looks more classy for the cross sign. Okay, anyway, cool. So yeah, first episode is this. Then if the funnel doesn't work, what sort of an approach should you have towards marketing as a whole? If cold, warm, hot is not the best way, is not the most accurate way, is not how you should treat problem statements, it's not the heuristic that you should approach a problem statement with. What should you do? You should approach it with this thing explained in this episode called segmentation and personalization. I'll tell you what I mean by segmentation and personalization. Segmentation is, let's say, you have 1,000 customers coming on your website, and all of these guys can be divided into sub-segments. These segments could be, people who have visited the landing page but not purchased. So let's say out of 1,000 people, 10 purchased and 100 visited the landing page. So this number exactly becomes 90. 90 people are visitors of landing pages, but not, haven't purchased the product from your website. Then there'll be different segments: people who've added to cart, people who have not visited your website, but they have watched 90% of your videos. Then, there'll be sub-segments, that are like people who've bought greater than 5,000 rupees worth of goods from your website. So you can make all of these segments. And once you've made these segments, the next step is personalization. Personalization basically happens. Segmentation happens to the audience. Segmentation is a sort of treatment that you do to your audience. Guys, someone's not on mute and causing a lot of echo. Can we... Guys, if you're not on mute, can you be on mute, please? Okay, perfect. So getting back to the thing. Okay, so what was I talking about? Segmentation is a sort of a treatment that you give to audiences. Okay, shouldn't have used an arrow here because that'll be confusing. So what I'll do is I'll kind of draw a box around this. Oh, okay, perfect. Finally got the color of my choice. Okay, awesome. So segmentation is sort of a treatment for different audiences. This is a treatment that you give to various audiences on your, the entire traffic on your website. You treat it to segment it. You've broken down into parts. And personalization is a sort of, it's a technique or a treatment of messaging. Basically, now each of these segments are on a different trip of their own, right? They're thinking about different things. They might be visiting different pages. The first person might be, for example, okay, I think I'm making a mess of the whole thing, but cool. Should I just clear this up? Or I shouldn't? Okay, okay, since there are different segments, and segments go beyond this. Segments, do not just stick to the various activities that the audience has done on your website. It also goes, beyond into the kind of browser these guys are using. Are they using iOS, or are they using Google Chrome, or are they coming from a third-party, browser? Are they viewing it on a iPhone, the latest edition iPhone, or are they using it on an older version of Android? So many segments that you can create, and so many segments. There can be qualitative segments, there can be behavioral segments, there are so many techniques of segmentation, and each segment ideally is on a different trip. These guys are thinking about different things altogether. But when we when you cluster them into certain segments, the people in that very segment think about the same thing. Collectively, they're thinking about different things, but in a particular segment, the audience is thinking about the same thing. They have similar micro problems at that instant. So what you do is you draft messaging for each segment. The people who are who've just added to cart and haven't bought, they might be having a similar kind of anxiety that, okay, this is a new brand and I haven't bought from it again, and they're asking me to pay upfront, and the order is 3,000 rupees. I might lose my 3,000 rupees, or I might not like the quality of it. Should I really go for it? These guys have added to cart, but they're not buying. They might have, you got to make hypotheses and you got to test multiple hypotheses, but the anxiety that these guys have at a certain point is similar. So segmentation and personalization is the approach to digital marketing. And I think that's the only primary thing that digital has brought to advertising or marketing. Everything else, and so segmentation and personalization did happen or did take place even in the offline world, but it was never as accurate as it is in the digital world. Because in the digital world, you can legit track people and their micro movements on the website, and you can have the most accurate data that you've ever had. And once you have the ability of advanced segmentation, you can do a lot with it. You can just go laser precise in your messaging and target the right person at the right time with the right messaging. That's what segmentation and personalization kind of allows you. And that kind of sums up the 2 episodes I want you to watch. The first one is nonlinear journey. The second one is segmentation and personalization. The second episode has 3 modules. The second module has 3 sub episodes in it. So you got to watch this. With this, did this make sense, by the way? Guys, say yes or no. Good, folks. Okay, thank you so much. With this, what I want to do is I have a special guest with me on this live stream. Her problem statement throughout this live stream is going to be teach you how to write copy. How do you write copy? How do you do copywriting? Like if you were thrown a copywriting problem state, copywriting is a vast field to study. But if you had to churn out something super quick, how would you go about it? That is the first problem statement. Second is, how do you translate that copywriting into a Facebook ad creative? And when I'm talking about Facebook, I definitely mean Instagram as well, because they're both the Facebook group, right? They both come under the Facebook group. So let me introduce you guys to Akshita. Akshita, you there? If you were here, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, Abhinav. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. I can't see you though.
Can you see me now? Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you'll have to check the chat box. Okay, fantastic. Cool. So, little background about Akshita. Akshita and I have worked in various capacities for a long time, over 2 years. And the examples that you saw in the case study that you got, the handout that you got about Capiva. So Akshita's hands-on worked on Capiva. She's written ads where we've spent, I think multiple lakhs in advertising spends. And the copy for that, the creatives were definitely made by an intern, but the copy for those creatives and the concept behind the copy of the customer life cycle there, that is browse abandonment, cart abandonment, and all of these triggers where the copy was written by Akshita. So yeah, Akshita's worked in the digital space for quite a while. She's worked with people who run ads, and she's given them ammunition, that the people who run ads can actually go out there and throw at people. So Akshita, what do you have for us? I think what the entire audience expects out of you out of today's session is 2 things. Number 1, teach us how to do copywriting in the next half an hour or so, or less, preferably. And how to put that copy into a Facebook creative, and teach us like we're 5 years old.
Okay, hi guys. So I hope that you guys can still hear me. Abhinav, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm going to get straight into it now. I'm going to look at this slightly differently from what Abhinav mentioned to you guys. That is I'm also going to get into how can you put together your ads quickly? How can you get started with making your ads with whatever systems you've set up so far, whatever your product or service might be, right? So copy we are going to touch upon in some detail, because this is a very quick session about learning about the various elements that go into making an ad. And then we'll also quickly look at what else you need to put together your ads. So over the coming week, you can start working on these things hands-on yourselves. Okay, so let me share my screen. And
okay, Akshita, before we get into this, I want to introduce the format. So whenever I let someone else present on these live streams, I become a 5-year-old. And while you present, am I allowed to interrupt you? You don't need to look at the chat box here, but the questions that these guys throw, I will rephrase them, and I will want to interject you almost at every slide, if that's fine, if this concept doesn't make sense to us. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something we can do. In fact, let's keep this conversational completely. You feel free to interrupt me whenever you like.
Okay, awesome. Cool, guys. So I am your representative here. You can throw your questions at Akshita via me in the chat box. Akshita, over to you. You can start screen sharing if you've got a presentation.
Yes, all right. So let me start presenting. Give me a moment to present now. A window. Okay, tell me when you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right, okay. So let's get started. Okay, guys, can you see the first slide that we're on right now? Abhinav, can you voice back to me what you're
yes.
because I can't see.
Yes. Please go ahead.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about getting you guys ready to start making your first ads, and we'll look at.
By the way, you can scan up Akshita at it's Akshita Hegde on Instagram.
Yeah. So by the way, today is going to be kind of a headway into this aspect of digital marketing for you guys. But for more, I'm obviously going to be putting out a lot of content on making ads on my page as well. So you can go kind of check that out. Get in touch with me there, and I'm going to do a series on it soon. All right. So let's get started for now. So today we're going to be talking about creating ads in particular. But we can't jump straight into it without understanding a little bit of context. So let me tell you what all I'm going to cover through this session. One is, what do we need to have ready before we get started? And then we need to look at some aspects of a customer journey, which gives us context around the ad itself. Okay. And then I will take you through something called stages of awareness. Abhinav, have you guys discussed this already through your program?
Yeah, I think these folks have a quite a bit of an understanding in the stages of awareness. We did that in prospect awareness audit, but
right.
we can skim through it as well.
All right, I'm just gonna go through it quickly. And then there's the reason I put this 5-step ad funnel thing, if you guys can see here. So Abhinav and I talk a lot about how funnels are shitty, as he just told you just now. So this is just a fun element for me to provoke him, but it's not actually a funnel, right? I've done this kind of intentionally. Anyway, so making digital ads, we will get into the actual making of ads towards the end of this presentation, but that is the focus of this whole session. Let's get right into it. Okay, so before we start getting into making or running ads, do you have a solid system in place is what you need to check. This is kind of a checklist. Each of these elements are quite important before our ads start working for us, no matter how well you do them, right? So you must have a product or service completely defined and in place, and it should be ready to go out there. That is a given. That is quite obvious, right? Now, from now onwards, I'm just going to start saying product for a service as well. It is just a generic term. I don't mean a tangible object. You could be doing social media marketing as your service, and that might be your offering. You could be teaching people dance lessons, does not matter, but dance lessons are your product, right? So I'm just going to use this word as a blanket word from now. And then, so the ad itself has links to several things. The ad itself is just, it's like a storefront to, if you had a shop, it's the storefront. What can somebody see passing by, right? In fact, we would like to position that storefront in front of who we want that be shown to, but that is the power of digital here. But what is in the store is quite important. So this is where, do you have a website? Do you have landing pages that talk about the product or offering you've got, right? And then, do you have a conversion system in place? This is, when I say conversion system, I'm obviously talking about the checkout page or the page where the buying actually happens. It can be built into your site, but I don't think we're going that advanced. It can be on, let's say, Amazon, or it can simply be making a call to set up a service discussion with you guys, right? If you are somebody who does, if you're an agency, you want your client to give you a call and start that conversation. So that is the conversion page. And then you need to have understood your market very well. By this, let me be very clear. I do not mean you need to have set boundaries on what your market is going to be. In fact, through running your ads, you will discover so much that you would have not guessed before you started running them, that your audience might be something very different from what you're expecting. But that does not happen often, and it's always a good starting point to have a very clear idea about what your target market looks, feels, thinks, and speaks like. Emphasis on the last two, because that's what make our ads connect with them. Okay, when I say thinks and feels, yeah, put yourself in their shoes. Understand your target market like you are them. Okay, that is important. All right, so this is a basic system we need before we get into ads. Moving on. I'm going to take you through quickly a customer journey where our ads are functionally relevant to us. How does an ad work for us? And this one's a positive one. Abhinav was talking about life cycles earlier, the Kapiva case study that you guys have. So there, what we worked with was life cycles at which we wanted to either activate. Guys, I'm hearing some sort of a disturbance, some noise behind.
I hope that's settled.
Yeah, that's gone. Okay, so we wanted to either activate somebody along a point in their journey or reactivate them, or make sure that they don't drop off at that point. They don't stop being our customer at that point, right? So that is what a life cycle sequence is. But here, I'm just looking at a positive journey where we're not looking at negative actions taken by a customer or potential customer. That means they don't go down the bad route that is not good for us in terms of sales. They don't stop using our product or service, or they don't not choose to opt in, those things. So I'm not looking at the negative side, just the positive customer journey. And when I say customer, I literally mean potential customer starting out. Somebody only becomes a customer when they start buying from you, right? So let's just use customer as a generic word here and see what happens. So what happens is you guys will start running your ads on Facebook or Instagram. That's what we're going to talk about today, at least. So if I am a potential customer, if I am your target market, I see the ad on my feed. If it hooks me, if I'm interested, then I click on it. What happens next is that I need to find out more about whatever product you've got. Again, when I say product, you know what I mean. I mean all kinds of products. I mean services. So I need to find out more, because an ad doesn't always tell me everything. An ad is a window. An ad is not the entire space itself. Okay. So I need to find out more to be 100% convinced I want to opt in. So usually it helps to go straight to landing pages. If you guys ever make the mistake of have an ad lead to your website and then leave your customer hanging in an ocean of confusion, please never do that. Remember, this is very important. Abhinav, do you want to add something about this? This happens sometimes, and it's such a basic mistake.
No, never run ads to your homepage, and it's stupid. Run it to product pages or landing pages. Even don't run them to product pages either. Run them to a landing page that suits the kind of there has to be an ad and a landing page fit. Whatever your ad talks about, your landing page has to serve. You can't lead with a different angle on your ad and land at a different angle with your landing page. That'd be super stupid, and you might get a good click-through rate. Click-through rate means people clicking on your ad. There might be a lot of people clicking on your ad, but there's going to be a big drop-off. Bounce rate will be more. What is a bounce rate? That someone just skimmed through the landing page, found it irrelevant, and gone away. We also call this concept clickbait. And clickbait was a very popular form of news online. You would put a very clickbaity headline, and your entire news page wouldn't really just serve the purpose. I think 9gag and companies like that used to do all of this. Okay, over to you, Akshita. Keep going.
Yeah, fair enough. Along with that, I would like to add one more scenario where you might be tempted to do the homepage mistake. When I say that clicking on your ad and going to a website generic homepage, first of all, never do that. There is simply no scenario in which that makes sense. But also there's one scenario where I've seen clients get confused. So you have a very strong warmed up target audience. There are 2 or more products that the same target audience tends to buy. But you are doing an ad for product A and they click on it. But your product B is even more amazing, or so you believe, right? So you want them to come and see that you also have product B, and you're hoping that now they'll also buy product A with product B. That is not going to happen, you guys. Your product A also won't get sold. Okay. So if you think you've got more amazing stuff, run ads for them specifically. Make sure that your links are connected in terms of narrative. Product A goes to product A landing page only. Okay. So that let's keep that clear, and I'm going to move on now. So yeah, so customer goes to the landing page. Customer finds out more about your product, likes it, understands every facet of it. A few things when we talk about landing page, your landing page has to be convincing in terms of copy, in the sense that it offers various angles. Firstly, not just information about your product. Firstly, it has the hook as to why the product is relevant to this particular customer. That means you have to always, in fact, sometimes you're going to have 6 to 7 landing pages for one product, same product, nothing's different about the product. The only difference is in which customers coming to which landing page. If I am a person who is looking for a certain USP of a certain product, or I'm in a different stage of awareness in my journey, which I'll explain soon, I want to connect with that particular ideology when I land on this page. So for me, one kind of page is better suited than for, let's say, Abhinav is a different customer. Okay, so that is important. Second, use things like social proof on your landing page. This is all just copy stuff. I won't get into landing pages now, but just quick pointers. Moving on. After the landing page, if I'm a customer and I'm convinced, I want to buy. Buy means, again, it can be anything. It can be sending you an email to ask for your services, right? Or it can just be click on buy, pay money, get it. So now I need a checkout page where this conversion happens. So this is usually the journey. This is the back end or the backstage of the front that your ad is. If the system is not efficient, your ads may not be converting simply because this system is flawed. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Oh my God, there's a lot of echo. I have a question. I want to ask you how. Give me an example. Give me an example of how different landing pages can be used for the same product. You just said the product can be same and landing pages might be different.
All right. So if it is a health supplement product, so when I say health supplement, these days you're getting products like powders, meal replacements on the market. These are very common. If I'm a girl who is slim, but I want to build, let's say, muscle, right? Then I'm focusing on the protein content in your health supplement. So you're talking about building a fit physique, but at the same time, to an entirely different audience that has a very busy lifestyle, a couple that are both tech people, they have no time to cook for themselves. You talk about the complete meal replacement idea, but these two are different ideologies. Okay, this is one common principle in copy. I was hoping to get to it later on, but it is common across any kind of copy you guys write. Remember this, with one piece of content or one particular item that you write copy for, always focus on one idea. Okay, don't go into 10 different features. That's different. Features is information. That
okay,
is not.
Summarize.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think your speaker is kind of voicing back into the whole thing. Maybe you can what do you say, lower down the volume. Anyway, so what I think the way the summary of what you spoke about is the entire concept of a meal replacement shake can be consumed by two different people for two different use cases. For a woman who's looking to put on mass, and for a tech, let's say a software engineer who's bogged down by corporate deadlines, and he doesn't have the time to take care of his nutritional needs and all of that. So he resorts to the idea of breakfast in a bottle or a lunch in a bottle of sorts. So these two guys have two different use cases for the same powder. And the third could be people who are on intermittent fasting diet. So all of these guys will have different landing pages because these are three different segments of audiences consuming the same product. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And the reason to do that is because you might have the same thing, one product, one landing page, and you talk about these different facets in paragraphs. You could do that. But if you want super high conversions, then what you can do is take the one idea that will hook one particular segment of your audience, like Abhinav earlier talked about, and then go all in on that one particular idea, that one hook, right? That way, one different landing page will give you a lot more conversions with every segment.
That is personalization, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That is personalization. I'm talking to one segment at the same time instead of talking to 10 different segments who might want it for weight loss, fat gain, intermittent fasting, whatever for their spouses and whatnot. Okay, got it. Cool. Please.
Yeah, so that is about landing pages, and then checkout, I guess you get it, the conversion bit, you get it. So if you get to the point of buy, then your ad conversion to a customer has been successful. Now, along this entire journey, there are many drop-off points. We are not looking at the negative cycle, as I said today, but we need the system to work efficiently for our ads to give us results, okay? So moving on, that was context. Now, this is an important concept. From what I understand, you guys have already learned this. But let me quickly take you through why it's relevant to us right now. So stages of awareness, I'm talking about 4 different stages. There are 4 different kinds of, so yeah, Abhinav.
I hate your speakers. By the way, there's a question that popped up. What's the difference between segmentation and personalization? I know we've spoken about it a lot, but if there is still a doubt around this, I think we should clarify it before moving any further. What's the difference between personalization and segmentation?
Are you asking me? Yeah, okay. So segmentation is you guys get behind your screens, you get smart at analyzing the different data points about your audience. So you break them down into categories of this particular category of audience has these common characteristics. Category B has these common characteristics. So each of them are defined. This is one type, this is another type. So you do multiple types like that. That is you segmenting your audience into groups. Okay. Personalization is basically you take each segment, you understand them inside out, you know to the point of you can probably complete their sentences, right? Or you can probably think about what kind of a decision they'll make given a certain scenario. That's how you have to understand each segment. Then you start showing them content or ads or even products. You can go at different stages in this, very, very specific to what they're going to say yes for. Okay, if it's a different product for this segment, you do that. If it's a different offer for the same product, you do that. Or if it's a completely different messaging for everything is the same product, one segment gets one messaging, the other segment gets a different messaging. That is personalization. Segmentation is what you do. They don't know, nobody knows they're segmented. I'm segmented into a different category, Abhinav's an entirely different one. But what you show me is different from what Abhinav sees. That's where you're personalizing it for me and him. Do you get it? Does that make sense?
Sure. I think it does make sense.
Okay. All right, let's get into stages of awareness. 4 different stages, you guys. So firstly, let's talk about cold audience. You guys understand cold audience is audience that is not aware of us at all. But I'm going to talk about cold audience slightly differently right now for the purpose of understanding this well. Cold audience is audience that we have not made any contact with so far. Okay, let's say you might be aware of something that I have on offer. that it exists, that I am this brand, whatever. You might be aware of it, but you and I have had no channel of communication. I've put out no ads to you. You haven't seen my website, nothing. Okay. So you are still cold to me. Okay. So that's how let's talk about cold audience right now. And keeping cold audience in mind, let's divide them into 4 different sectors. So in cold audience, there is one group. I use the abbreviation TG here. TG is target group, right? So one TG is completely not aware of the problem to which you are offering your solution. Whatever product or service, it is obviously solving some sort of a problem. It could be a luxury, it does not need to be a necessity. I don't want to get into that, but there is always some sort of a problem you're solving for, or at least gap you're filling. I'm calling that as a problem right now. Okay. This audience is not actively aware either that this problem even exists, or that they're actually facing it, but they're overlooking that hurdle. They're still going through it somehow, but they have not realized it's an issue, right? So this is the, let's say this is the dumb TG. They don't know. Then there's the next level that is aware that this problem is there, but they don't know that there are solutions in the market. That's the mildly aware group. Third one is aware that problem is there, is also aware that solutions are there in the market. But these are still not the best groups for you to target, because they don't know why your solution is the best out there. They don't know much about your value proposition. They just know that problem is there, solutions are there. Okay. Last group is the best group. That is probably the most warmed up group that you can probably start selling to very quickly. I won't say immediately because there's still one hurdle, but you can start selling to this group quickly because they know problem is there, solutions are there, and they also know about you, and they also know that you have value in your solution. So they have done their research. They're already kind of open to this thing. Okay. So why this matters is when you write ads, when you do your segmentation, when you do your stages of awareness, whatever, when you do different sequences in your ads, you should always aim, number one, to connect with the audience the audience that the ad is meant for at the stage of awareness they're at. That means if I am only mildly aware, your ad should come with the messaging where you change my mildly aware at least to well aware before you jump to highly aware and doing the hard sell for me. Okay. Sometimes you can do all of this in one ad. Go to well aware, go to highly aware, immediately tell me why this product is the best to and start selling it. You can do it. But sometimes you have to do it in stages depending on what your product is. So connect with me if I'm the market, wherever I am at in my stage of awareness situation. Okay. That is very, very important when you make your ads as a concept. So remember this. If you have doubts, I think now's a good time to ask because it's very important. Is anyone confused about what I'm saying?
Don't worry about it, Akshita. I think this is something we've covered in depth in the past few weeks.
All right, let's get to the funnel bit. Like, we love funnels, right? Abhinav? Okay, so this is not actually a funnel. It is what they call an ad progression. Actually, what we call an ad progression, because this is something we do, right? We've been, Abhinav and I, when I say Abhinav and I, we've worked on lots of campaigns together over time, and we've always found this as something that kind of works well for us. So it's actually a progression, but funnel for me is kind of a sarcastic use here, just for us to have a little fun, mostly because Abhinav hates it. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about is this. We're going to look at 5 different sets of ads when you guys start out. You have your target market in place, you have a product. You have 2 things now. Your target market is eventually going to obviously break down into different kinds of groups with different characteristics. Don't mind that. But once you start running ads to them, right, their perception of who you are, what product you're offering, how good is the product will change over time as they get more and more exposed to your content. So through that change, you have to stay with them in their journey. Okay, that's why this progression matters. Page 1, what you have to start out with is make a set of ads that simply create awareness. This is quite obvious. Awareness about what is this brand, what is this product. I have also added brand because sometimes if, for example, you have an ethical bent of mind to your service, right? You are gluten-free, you don't use any slavery in your manufacturing like child labor, or you even don't test on animals, like if you're physical, cosmetic products, things like that. If you have an ethical bent, for example, your brand story is extremely important, right? Because you already connect with your audience through your principles, not just your product. In fact, your product becomes secondary in that sense. But in most cases, it's usually anyway important to start getting them acquainted with your brand. So first, run a set of ads that simply make your audience aware of your product as well as your brand. Tell your brand story, show them your product, and talk about everything. That's stage one. Stage two in this progression would be, now you focus on your product. You kind of zero in on, this is what I'm going to sell you eventually. Basically, not in those words, obviously, but you focus on the product. That's where the cynosure is, right? You look at it specifically in terms of its USPs, one at a time. Remember this again, one at a time. If my product does 3 amazing things, I'll do one ad for one amazing thing. Okay. And then to the same audience, I'll run a different ad for a different amazing thing. I'll see if they respond to this one or the other one. Okay. That is very important. That's where you get smart about your audience. So focus on the USPs, make a set of ads where you just focus on product value proposition. Third one is, your audience by now has seen your ads. They know your brand, they know your product, they know quite a bit about what is special about it. That's where they are at now. Now you have to get to their side of the story, which is, there is a problem obviously that your product or service is solving. You have to hit them where it hurts with the problem first. Make them fully aware of where the problem is, then immediately put your product in front of their face saying this is going to take that away. This is a very important, let's say this is a very effective way of doing this, but I would still say this is an optional part of this progression. Usually it works for a lot of different kinds of brands. Some brands it does not work for. It's not needed, I would say. Let's say your service is an experience, then you probably don't need to hit anyone where it hurts, because there's no hurting. There's just, again, necessity versus luxury element, right? If it's a luxury element, sometimes you don't need to do this stage 3. Stage 4 is when now they're completely aware. They know exactly what you're doing with your product, values, and they know what they'll gain by using it, because it'll solve a problem for them, right? This is where you go all in for, go for the kill, right? This is you do the hard sell, and you also make them want to buy fast, because you have to, I mean, by creating urgency and scarcity, which means you show them that either that it is not going to be out there for them to make a decision whenever and postpone the decision. Nothing. You just give them a little bit of window of opportunity to make that decision and do it soon. It's not going to be out there all the time. So you create that scarcity that it will probably run out, or that if you do it in this time, then you get this benefit, or you don't, right? Urgency and scarcity. That is the hard sell. And stage 5 is where, of course, you want to get more conversions. You're looking for more sales at this point of time. If that is the goal, stage 5 is when you put out discounts, sales, offers, combos, whatnot. Okay, so that's the last one. But usually you can start your conversions to buy or conversions to opt in for your service by the time you're done with stage 2, if you do it well. Okay, stage 3 is usually extremely effective. You don't need to always get to 4 and 5, but if you do it well, stage 2 is good enough to start converting. Keep that in mind. Okay, let's get into making the ad.
I want to interject here, Akshita.
Yes, yes.
That felt like a lot of theory, and we need some examples. And people are like, since you worked on Capiva, why don't you break that so-called funnel of yours down with an example from Capiva? You might want to pick up a product. And before that, Akshita, can you just take off your live stream? I just want to draw something, and then we can answer this question of breaking down that funnel for Capiva. Okay?
Yeah. Do I do stop presenting?
No,
Yes.
I think, yeah, that'd be cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Your entire screen. Just tell me, you be the voice of the audience. Okay, now. Perfect. I think, can you see this mess that I've created? Can you guys see my screen? Yes, no, maybe.
Can see, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just open a new one. Do you want to save your picture?